Welcome to the Superhumanize Podcast, where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge science, and we remember that magic is not fantasy, it's our forgotten birthright. I'm your host, Ariane Sommer. Throughout my global journey, from my childhood in Sierra Leone to the boardrooms of wellness enterprises, I've witnessed the profound cost of our disconnection from our own innate wisdom. We've traded our intuitive knowing for external validation, our natural rhythms for artificial timelines, and our deep feminine wisdom for surface level productivity. But what if I told you there's a way back, a way to speak the language of the universe itself and to reclaim the word witch for what it truly means, wise? My guest today is Mia Magik. You may know her as the spiritual fairy godmother whose sacred rage ritual went viral on TikTok, giving millions of women permission to feel what they've been told to suppress for centuries. Mia is also the best-selling author of IntuWitchin, Learn to Speak the Language of the Universe and Reclaim Your Inner Magic. And I've had the privilege of reading her upcoming book, Witchual, which transforms ordinary moments into profound spiritual practice through what she calls attention plus intention. She's the founder of Witch School, has led transformational retreats in castles throughout Scotland and France, and has coached everyone from tech leaders to professional athletes to remember their supernatural abilities. And here's what moves me most about Mia's work. She's reclaiming the truth that our disconnection from nature is the root of our modern suffering, and that remembering our magical nature isn't just personal healing, it's planetary medicine. So join me as we explore what it means to live a fearlessly authentic life, to embrace both the light and dark feminine within us, and to discover that the magic you seek is not somewhere out there. It's already within you, waiting to be remembered.
Superhumanize. Accelerated evolution.
Mia, welcome to the Superhumanize Podcast. I am so grateful we get to connect today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I've been following your work and what you put forth into this world for a while now. And I would like to start at the beginning because your message is it's universal. It starts at the personal, but it's universal. And I'm curious, was there a particular moment when you realized that our collective disconnection from our intuitive wisdom wasn't just personal, but it was systemic?
Wow, that's a really great question. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was so personal, right? We get so trapped in our personal stories and our experience of reality and our pain and our trauma that it's easy to think that we're the only ones. And it really took me doing so much work on myself that then people started asking me for help. They saw my life change. They saw my situations change. They saw my capacity to manifest change. They saw the way that I responded to reality and existence change. And then they started asking me for help. And I think that the most powerful experience that I had was seeing how consistently, like the thing that I had just gone through, the program that I had just worked with myself, the nugget of wisdom I had just received from this epic training that I decided to do was exactly the thing that each client would need every time. And one of my teachers told me, because when I first started healing others or coaching and supporting people on their growth journey, whether it was in business or in spirituality and consciousness, I felt like, oh, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out myself as I go along. And one of my teachers was like, the spiritual path is like being on a hiking path. You only have to be one step ahead of someone to say like, hey, there's a rattlesnake, or hey, there's a cliff right here, or hey, there's a pile of dog shit. You don't have to be like miles and miles ahead. Sometimes you can actually really benefit from proximity with someone that you're supporting. And that really gave me permission to start helping people. And so I was able to see how similarly the things I had just gone through, the things I had just tackled myself, then I was able to support people through almost immediately. And it was super powerful because it made me feel not alone. And then my response to them made them feel not alone. And so I would say that was the most powerful experience that I had of knowing that the collective pain is mine, and my pain isn't just mine. It also radiates out, and we all experience it, specifically because of the way that we've been programmed, the way that society responds to the things that are most natural about us, like expressing joy and creativity and sexuality. And so, I think we as a species are very naturally powerful and exuberant and divine. And there are a few people in the world that are really working to prevent that full expression. And so that pain, because disconnection from our wisdom and our nature is so agonizing, is shared among all people because we're not taught how to connect with it or use it.
Yes, right. And what you just shared is really so powerful. What the sage advice your teacher, your mentor gave you, this permission, the saying you just need to be a step ahead. You don't need to be perfect, right? I'm a recovering perfectionist, so that resonates. Plus, I also think when we literally just went through something, it is much easier to hold that compassion for somebody who is going through it. I acknowledge within myself that when I have, it's sometimes harder when you have a certain perspective where not better, but maybe you've just spiraled more deeply into something. It can become more difficult to put yourself in the shoes of someone who is just walking through it. That is something I constantly remind myself on and keep working on, because to have that connection is truly what can facilitate the most powerful healing within someone, for them to connect with that healing. Yeah. And you spoke about, some of the things you personally went through. It's worth mentioning you actually had an experience that for most of us, we would consider quite traumatic, with an accident where you nearly lost your arm. I recently just heard how you shared that story, podcast with Robert Edward Grant, and I was just like, my heart was just like, wow, would you be willing to share that story with us? I just found it so powerful, and so it just really moved me.
Of course, that's so funny. I just bumped into him on burn night on Saturday, so I just saw him a couple days ago, sweetheart. So yeah, I was in a really bad accident when I was 16 and did almost become an amputee through miracle and my own voracious assertiveness. They did not end up chopping my arm off in the emergency room, which was the original plan. And after being an incredibly independent and outspoken teenager, to become hyper dependent on literally anyone, because I could not do any of the normal things that we do with two hands, which you don't even think about: zipping up a sweater, tying a pair of shoes, opening a jar, lifting something. Like, I didn't have a functioning arm, so I couldn't do any of the things that I had been able to do previously: sports, playing guitar, like playing piano, anything that I had done pretty much just stopped, halted. Couldn't snowboard anymore because it was so fragile if I fell on it. And that made me very angry. And I was already a fiery child. I was already very much who I am, but that made me angry. And I had to ask for strangers to help me like button my jeans in a public bathroom. And I disassociated so completely that even still, sometimes I'll be looking for something that I'm holding or carrying in my left hand. And I'm like tearing across the house looking for a set of keys that's like looped around one finger, because there was just a hole. I still wash my face with one hand. Like, I just didn't use it for years. And people did the like retard thing at me. That was when that scary movie came out and he was like, grab my strong hand. So like people did that. It was like, kids are not very nice and it's already a hard time in your life. And so then to be physically incapacitated, especially as an incredibly independent young being, it was dark times for me. And I couldn't get out of bed most of my senior year of high school. Like I was just a mess and got put on antidepressants and then felt nothing and was like, I'd rather feel something than nothing. And I'm just fully numbed and this is not right for me. And it took me many years. I wore a sleeve over the scar. At first, it was because it wasn't allowed to see the sun and it needed to be covered because it would just like bubble and boil, which was horrible. And then it just became psychosomatic. I have to cover this up. No one can see this. And that program remained in my mind for 10 years. And one day I went to a party with a friend who happened to be my meditation teacher. And I'd left the house and packed the cover for my arm with me because I was wearing a sweatshirt. I would like just rolled out of bed and gone to like spiritual hippie church in Venice. And then we go back to Hollywood for this party and I go to change my outfit and put on the sleeve to be in my bathing suit and have this whole experience. And it just disappeared. It just absolutely vanished into thin air. And even when I went home, these sleeves that I'd been wearing for 11 years, every day of my life, all of them just dematerialized. They just ceased existing. I never found another single one anywhere in all my little hiding places and all the places that I always kept one in case I needed it, like the glove compartment of my car and like everywhere, one in the bathroom. And that moment when I walked into that party and didn't have the sleeve, I was panicking. I was sobbing and I just heard the voice of God, which I'd heard a couple of times before, but I was not in active daily conversation with. And it felt very feminine, felt like the goddess, felt like this mothering, unconditionally loving and supportive. She was like, Mia, honey, enough. It's enough now. Just let it go. And I did. And I just walked into this party and nobody noticed. And it was the most profound cognitive dissonance I'd ever experienced. I thought, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm deformed and disfigured and hideous. This scar is so ugly and they're going to hate me and I don't belong here. And I just got to get the fuck out of here. And no one fucking noticed. They didn't even see it. One guy at the very end, I stayed in a corner the entire party and talked to one guy the whole day. And at the very end of hanging out for 6 hours, he did ask me, so what happened to your arm? And by that time, I felt comfortable to tell him. We'd hung out all day and it was like not a big deal. And so I told him, and it was like the first time that I just showed the scar to someone. And yeah, and then I had a photo taken that day and put it up on Facebook. And it was like the first time I had a viral photo. And this was like, this was before virality even existed. This is like before Instagram, like, but hundreds and hundreds of people from my life and my past, because back then it was only people that you knew, on your Facebook. And like hundreds of comments of all these people being like, yes, Mia, oh my God, we love you, so beautiful. And it was like, whoa. Not only did it free me and my mind, but it also is really getting a powerful response from other people. And they're really resonating with like how much, and I made a whole writing about it, and we all have scars, and I have one on the outside, but the ones on the inside from that experience are way worse. They were so much worse than anything that was on the outside. And I'm covered in scars on the outside, like full warrior shit. And so, that moment changed me and allowed me, when I started working through the internal scars, to be able to support others in changing themselves too.
I love that, Mia. Thank you for sharing. And it is very clear to me, you are a walking, talking, vibrating permission slip. And it is about this, giving permission to express and embody the things that oftentimes we were taught to hide away, right? Whether it's our pain, our scars, our darkness. And when we look at particularly at the suppressed dark feminine throughout history, we've seen how patriarchal structures have systematically suppressed what Carl Jung called the dark feminine, and not dark as an evil, but as in deep, cyclical, mysterious, and powerful
Blade.
aspects, right? And I've spent a lot of time researching ancient cultures, and I see how the societies that honored both the dark and the light, they often were so much more balanced and sustainable. And one of the things that also made more people aware of, broader scale was your sacred rage ritual. And it went viral partly because I think because it gives women permission to express what's been suppressed for centuries, if not millennia. And I'd love to learn about your perspective, Mia. How do you see this reclaiming of our dark feminine as essential, not only for our personal healing, but actually for our collective healing?
Oof. Oh my goddess, that's such a good question. And I've been having such a profound deepening and further awakening with this part of myself and the frequency that exists in the universe. And the thing about the dark is that the dark is not bad. We can't see the stars without the dark. The plants would fry. The earth would incinerate if we didn't have the darkness. And plants, seeds, everything we eat comes from the depth of the ground in the darkness. There are millions and trillions of miles of mycelial networks beneath our feet in the earth. All the things that we value, our gold, our jewels, our diamonds, we mine from the earth. They come from pressure and darkness in the center of the planet, in the darkest place that there is. And so I think that the biggest piece is that the feminine and darkness, because they are the poles of each other, they are the expressions of one another, have both been made to be evil. The context has become that it is evil, rather than that the dark feminine, the ferocious feminine, is both the part that breeds, that gives life. The void is where the dark of the womb is, where the seed is planted and grown, where we all come from and arise from. And simultaneously, the ferocity of that dark feminine is that which protects what she gives birth to. And one is receptive and soft and open and blossoming, and one is like, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Watch your back. And as children, when we're all vulnerable, no matter what your gender, you need that part of your mom. You need her to be like that, because otherwise something bad could happen to you. You could get eaten by a lion. Someone could fuck with you. Like, you need your mom to be protecting you. And yet, because of all these like epic heroines who became martyrs and all these stories that have been changed, like, we have no relationship to the dark feminine as a good thing. It's only like the evil queen in Snow White,
Right.
or the evil witch who's going to eat Hansel and Gretel. It's like, what? Yeah. And then the one example of the dark feminine that we have, there's kind of like two in popular lore, one older than the other, one being Lilith. Oh, she's a whore. She won't bow down. It's so awful. It's, she's not obedient, right? That's what makes her bad. That's her darkness. And then we have the wicked stepmother. And so I have a whole section in my book about this, but like, if you were the woman originally who took over because someone died and you were caring for her children, that meant that you were trustworthy. That meant that you were a good woman. That meant that you were generous. That meant that you were kind, and you were like carrying forth your sister's legacy with love. Not you are this horrible, punitive, evil replacement wife, right? Like, and I had a wicked stepmother. My mom had a wicked stepmother. I come from a lineage of wicked stepmothers. And it is such a shame that every aspect of the dark feminine that we've been shown is so negative and so bad. And women's emotions have just become this dangerous thing, because when we are allowed to express them, we're fucking powerful. all the aspects of the feminine, the sexuality, the creativity, the emotionality have all been made to be bad and evil, have been commodified, have been desecrated in our society. And so the rage ritual was an opportunity for us to, and is, like my retreat in October, we'll be doing the rage ritual, of course, as always, in the Redwoods, which is my favorite place to do it because they just hold you so beautifully. And at the end, you just send your love up through them. And that ritual triggered a lot of people because no one is allowed to get angry.
Yeah.
and in the space, like, you're not getting angry at anyone. You're just expressing, you're just releasing, you're just allowing. And that especially is frowned upon. If you're going to get angry, you better have a really good reason, and you really better go for it, but don't ever just feel it on your own without harming your child or your partner or some guy on the street. And so to have a space for women, for myself, it started with, to just feel and be able to yell and scream and say whatever you want without harming anyone, without talking to anyone, without damaging your relationships, without really, you actually, even the work of Gabor Mate and Bassel van der Kolk, some of these amazing trauma experts, are showing that spontaneous bursts of intentional rage or anger in particular can lead to immediate shifts in autoimmune conditions. Immediately. Just letting your body release the anger that has been suppressed for a decade or 5, you can heal your body. And so I have found that creating a space for women, I have done it for men. Even I have this amazing man in my life who I held a swamp for yesterday, and he swamped and he just fucking went for the whole rage. It was so good and so beautiful and so sexy. And to give people a space to just feel.
Yeah.
It's not just rage. It should be called a release ritual, because sometimes it's frustration. Sometimes it's disappointment. Sometimes it's sadness. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's hatred, and all of that expresses differently. And I just wanted to give women, and I do this at all of my retreats because it helped me, a place where you can say all the things you've never said and stand up for yourself in ways you've never stood, and express and hold and create boundaries in a way that you never have before. And what I see on the other side is so much more freedom and so much more pleasure and so much more love and so much more self-acceptance, because instead of communicating to our body and our heart and our mind constantly, no, this is wrong. You shouldn't be feeling this. Shut this down. Shut this up. You're not worthy. This is horrible. I can't believe you're feeling this. This is so bad. Like, turn it off. Lay it down. Whatever your way of preventing yourself from feeling those things and constantly actually feeling them internally without ever letting them go, that is what makes us sick. That is harms us.
Yes.
And so I really felt like it was an important practice to bring to my retreats and experiences. And for most women, they've never screamed like that. They've never hit something like that. They've never cried like that. And it's healing, and it is transformational.
Oh my God, Mia. And you know what you're just sharing, it brings up to me, I have the pleasure and privilege to be a mentor for some women. And I remember one particular one, incredible, beautiful inside and out. And she discovered through our work together that, oh, I guess I'm angry. Oh my goodness, I guess I have a lot of anger inside of me. And I was so happy for her to connect with that. And then she was wondering how to deal with that. And I actually had an idea. I wanted to take her to a rage room, right? We have these rage rooms here in LA, and you can just bust shit up and let it all out, right? It's safe. You get the goggles and that. And she was so uncomfortable with the idea to exhibit her anger, even in a safe space, because what she had been taught is to be acceptable, to be lovable, to be considered beautiful and desirable. She had to suppress that part of herself. And this is just a singular example. You have worked with, hundreds or thousands of people and women. this pathologizing of our emotions is, as you said, what makes us sick. And to your point, also, I think Gabor Mate also relayed that it's no wonder that the majority of human beings who experience autoimmune disease is women, right? So it's and men also are this is all deeply rooted in the patriarchal system that also teaches men and hurts men.
Yeah.
No, you boys don't cry. Men are so disconnected from their emotions. The only acceptable expression of emotion is anger, aggression, right? So,
Yeah,
anyways, we're about to deconstruct all of that and
that's right. Let's go. Get it out of here.
Yeah. You know, what fascinates me also is how the word witch got basically denigrated and weaponized. You actually talk about reclaiming that witch means wise. And from an anthropological perspective, we know that the wise women, the herbalists, the midwives, the healers, they were systematically eliminated because their power threatened existing structures. I recently also just learned that when the medical profession was established in a more structured form, it was basically given to men. And women who were the healers, the herbalists, they threatened that money-making machine. And anyways, so it's just so interesting how repressing what is most natural causes the greatest wounds to us collectively. And that's why we're experiencing the shit show we're experiencing right now.
That's pretty much the only word for it, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not mincing my words with this. And you
Well,
know,
a big way that happened was when J.D. Rockefeller, the oil magnate, recognized and figured out that he could make chemical compounds out of petrochemicals, so out of oil-based materials. That's what pressed pills, that's what pharmaceutical pills are made out of. And then adding chemical compounds to them that could be deemed medicine, that rather than dealing with the root cause of any issue, works with the symptoms of it, and then also causes lots of side effects. And he, because he was like a billionaire of the era, used a propaganda campaign to make pharmaceutical medicine what it was, and that it all natural medicine became quackery. And that's, I believe did he create the WHO? Did he start that? Don't quote me on that one because I'm not sure on that, but I do know that he created the American Medical Association that deemed what the curriculum was in medical schools. And so he changed any natural form of medicine being taught to doctors or surgeons. He went in and shifted all the textbooks and made had enough money to make everything geared towards using more oil. Our medical system using fossil fuels from inside the earth that should stay down there.
Exactly. Question everything. And I was not aware about that being part of pills. So you opened up a whole nother rabbit hole that I'm going to do a deep dive later on. But
yeah, those weird Advil pills, that blue gel, what do you think that is? It's oil. It's plastic. It's like, no. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't take that stuff,
No,
but
obviously.
I know people who do, so I will definitely, I'll look. That's horrible, man.
And we all had a phase, we all had a muggle era where we did take those. It's okay. Now we know, now we know better.
Yeah. Also looking, I think it's really important to look at things the way they are, because then we can move on. And I also feel we're at this incredible inflection point where these old masculine dominant leadership models, this type of and it's more, let's call them what they are, the patriarchal dominant leadership models, where it's from the top down. They're clearly failing us environmentally, socially, spiritually. But what I love is the feminine leadership that we see emerging isn't about being nice or accommodating. It's actually bringing back cyclical wisdom, intuitive strategy, and having the courage to disrupt systems that no longer serve life itself. And I would like to hear from you, Mia. How do you see the reclaimed dark feminine energy reshaping leadership and creating regenerative systems that our world desperately needs right now?
Oh, I love that question. I think a big part of it is that so many female entrepreneurs are witches. Like, we know, we're learning these things. We're cutting out the plastic ware from our bodies. We're drinking spring water again. You know, we're making prayers, and that is the dark feminine, because that is the creative portal. That is the void. And so for me, you know, I do my best to live as sustainably as possible. I only shop secondhand. I be outside as often as I possibly can. I compost my food. You know, I try to buy as little plastic as possible. I don't support Amazon. I think there's a lot of different ways. You and I already talked about supporting the small business instead of supporting Amazon earlier. And, you know, I think that there are so many ways that if we would just return to how we lived, which is why all the trad wives and like the homesteaders are so hot right now, and everyone's obsessed with them, and they have the ultimate viral content. Obviously, in some worlds, there are other worlds on Instagram. I know I don't live in those worlds, so I like my homestead worlds, you know, but people are fascinated by our ancient ways. And if we create sort of a critical mass on that, which is absolutely happening, like, certainly the world is a shit show, make no mistake. And I'm sure you experience the same thing that I do, which is living in my bubble is literal heaven. It's heaven on earth. I just got back from Burning Man. It was heaven on earth. I'm here at my lake house in Austin. My girl and I went out on our boat today and like wake surfed this morning before I came to talk to you. Like, I live in heaven, and that exists, and we can all live there. It is entirely possible. And my prayer and what I see in female entrepreneurship, which, like, look, I live in this world with a lot of really powerful, successful women, and a lot of them are doing things kind of the same way as the patriarchs. Maybe like there are slight shifts, but they're, you know, they're getting hundreds of Amazon packages every day, and like the business isn't super sustainable and regenerative. However, they're doing medicine ceremonies, and they are awakening their sexuality in different ways, and they are coming into freedom and liberation. Maybe they're going to Burning Man, they're wearing dope costumes. Like, we're all finding these paths of liberation that I hope ultimately will lead to a collective agreement on how we relate to Mother Earth specifically, and how we operate in reverence and devotion to her for providing us with everything, and how we support, right? Like, we don't, even one of my sisters just shifted to going to the co-op, because I'm like, we shop at the co-op now, you know, like, don't go to Whole Foods, shop at the co-op. And she's like, cool, we're going to the co-op now, you know, like, yes, though it's small things, it's small things where women are the leaders. Like, we are the ones going to the farmer's market and meeting the farmer and connecting here and there and everywhere. And I do believe this is the year that the Shambhala warrior prophecy was about. And that was a prophecy about all of the people coming and meeting in this realm and dimension. It is a place, but it's a dimension of consciousness. And I just got back from a 2-month summer adventure in 11 countries, all over Europe, and then all over the South Pacific, Australasia. It's a whole wild experience. Went swimming with whales in Tonga, went to Samoa and New Zealand and Bali, and just like had the best summer of my entire life. And what it made me know with certainty and the utmost faith is that these Shambhala warriors, these not just dark feminine leaders, but the light masculine leaders as well, the power, the true yin and the yang that we need in order to have harmony and synergy, we are coming together, and we are reweaving the tapestry of the golden age together. Like, my friends and I were literally partying with purpose, not just like raging, but like having the literal best, blissful, most ecstatic time together on 3 different continents in the last 2 months. Like, it has been the greatest gift and joy and love that I've ever experienced. And that is because women are doing the fucking work again, and women are stepping into our priestesshood, however that looks. Some of us, it's baking sourdough bread. Some of us, it's making epic ritual costumes. Some of us, it's doing podcasts. Some of us, it's writing books. Like, we're all doing it our different ways. Some of us, it's body work or photography or paint. Like, it's everything. And so I feel it coming back, because it is pretty much constant in my life. The beauty of dark feminine leadership. And even in this experience that I'm having in a dynamic with the masculine, it's the most healing experience I've ever had with a man. It is the sweetest, kindest, most loving, and also dirtiest, filthiest, most fucking dominant, slutty, absolutely magnificent experience I've ever had with another person.
I love that for you, Mia. I am ecstatic that you're experiencing this. It's giving
And
me goosebumps while listening to it. That's beautiful. And every woman, every human, honestly, deserves to experience that. And yes, to what you said, I'm experiencing that too, that so many women are stepping into their priestess. So, and whatever that means.
yeah,
And the key here is choice and not being reduced to something. If when
yeah,
somebody finds their fulfillment and their purpose, and like you said, making sourdough bread and homesteading, and that is their choice out of many choices, that is beautiful. When somebody is a badass baddie and is a startup founder and makes hundreds of millions of dollars, that's her way to
that's
change
right.
the world. That's perfect. And actually, when we look at what's happening around the globe at all kinds of different grave sites where they're discovering women that were buried, where you see, okay, this woman was a tribal leader. Oh, this woman was a warrior. This woman was a huntress. This
Yeah,
woman was a mother. Women were never meant to be reduced to
yeah,
one thing. And it's this, when you look at nature, right? I mean, the diversity of the female or the feminine and our disconnection from nature, which is based in a fear of nature and this whole system of subjugating and dominating nature, and losing her as our first teacher, as our mother, which she truly is. I lived in so many diverse ecosystems around the world. I grew up in a diplomatic household, and
oh, cool.
yeah, so I was, I was born in Germany, 4 weeks old. We moved to West Africa to Sierra Leone, 4 years later to India, lived in New Delhi. So every 3 to 4 years, another place, Spain, Germany, United States. And I was able to observe that indigenous cultures, also in retrospect, when I actually researched the places that I lived in as a child, that these indigenous cultures, they never separated spirituality from nature. They were one and the same. But in our modern world, we've created this artificial separation between natural and spiritual worlds when actually nature is our first and most constant teacher about cycle, seasons, sacred timing. And I know that you talk about yourself and you are an ambassador for Mother Earth. And how do you see the our disconnection from nature as the root cause of our spiritual amnesia? And what were to happen if we actually remember we are nature?
Mm. Well, I love that you used ambassador when that's like you're a diplomatic. That was like the one dream I always had as a little girl was I wanted to have one of those ambassador families where you just move around all the time and you get to live in all these different countries. So I love that you did that and then are asking me about being an ambassador because that's just giving my inner child all the giggles right now. So nature is our very bones. They are the stones in the mountains. The rivers and creeks and streams inside of us are the blood in our veins, like the canyons it flows through. We breathe air that trees exhale, and then we exhale what they inhale. And the fibers of their leaves and stems and branches look the same as our lungs do because they're divinely designed to exchange this sacred element of air with one another. And then there's electricity, which is like the fire and the sun and the energy literally pumping through our veins and our hearts in every single moment. We are, in fact, and very actually, the same as nature. And so when you don't know who you are, when you don't know what you are, when you don't feel like you belong, you're going to be sick mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel afraid. You don't have your tribe around you to protect you and take care of you and make you feel at home and like you are part of something. And that is why, I mean, God, whenever you leave your bubble and you see how other people live and exist, like airports are a really great people watching experience for me because I am in them so often.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that people live and eat and let their children function and just sit for hours on a screen with no awareness is heart-wrenching to me.
Mhm.
Of course, at an airport, it's really hard to just, sit outside or hang out in a tree. That doesn't exactly happen. And people are reliant upon so many painful aspects of like food and drugs and different kinds of drugs like sex and video games or TV or whatever it is. And it's because we've forgotten how to appreciate the like 200,000 shades of green that the human eye can see. And
Oh,
that,
that many?
yeah,
Wow. I
that's
had no
how
idea.
many different shades just we can see, let
Yeah.
alone like the birds and the butterflies who can see so much more through ultraviolet. The spectrum of light that human beings can see is 0.035% of the entire spectrum. Like we see almost none of it. And look how beautiful the world is.
Mhm.
When you spend time in green spaces or next to water, blue or green space is two different types of brain matter that are built inside of your mind by spending time next to just immersed in a green environment or beside the water. We are so far from what we could be, I think mostly because we are not connected to nature.
Mm.
And when we talk about junk DNA or like
Mhm.
only using 10% of our brains, that's because we used to have these gifts. And you can see advanced yogis and monks and deep meditators who have these like higher brainwave capacities. They have these siddhis, right? Gifts, miracle healing, pulling jewels out of like instant manifestation, pulling jewels out of the sky, all kinds of wild gifts by location, right? There's some like monks in some Inuit Alaskan monks that people like are fully, they can bilocate. They do it. They often. And I believe that we have these incredible skills and gifts that if we step away from all, like we've been talking about, all these patriarchal programs and systems, there's something that happens with your brain when you go into nature. 20 minutes of nature will lower your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, make you feel better, boost your mood, right? Then it goes into like 4 hours. You spend 4 hours and your immune system is boosted. And not only is your cortisol lessened, your anxiety is lessened, your fear is lessened, all these other things. 4 hours then creates this massive boost in your immune system.
Mm.
As you increase your time spent in nature away from the systems, up until like there's a 3-day effect. So like that's why when you go on a camping trip, you feel like a different person on day 3 of being out in the woods without your devices and your sort of creature technological comforts. And that is because nature is where we are meant to be. And because it is our greatest healer. And because when we are barefoot, when we are immersed in negative ions that are so help our bodies fight free radicals and oxygenate our blood, which helps our brains function and helps our hearts beat better. Everything about, I'm just looking out at the lake and the little plants growing in it and my Montezuma cedar with its gorgeous cones right here. It's just such a great view. And I know that if we all remembered how to see ourselves in nature and vice versa, thunderstorm comes rolling in. Okay, this is like the energy clouds are where air and water meet. So air is the element of my mind and my communication, and water is the element of my emotions and my sexuality. So how are my emotions making me feel about my thoughts or vice versa? Like, what am I thinking that's making me feel a certain way? And then thunder is how my mind and emotions interact through electricity with the ground. So how are my mind and emotions, my thoughts and feelings engaging with my physical reality, with my home or my friendships or my partnership or the health in my body? And what am I doing? Energy, the element of fire is action and transformation. What am I doing? How am I responding to that? Am I being like a lightning bolt and kind of like shooting myself and like getting really worked up and right? Just that, just a thunderstorm has so much information for us, has so many opportunities for us to learn and see our reflection. And we just don't do that. We think that we're separate from it. We run from the rain. Oh, it's such a horrible day outside. Oh, it's cloudy. Well, it's like, well, what are the clouds trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And that was our original divination. Before tarot cards and runes and anything else, divination was done through how nature spoke to you in its language. And so I believe, that's why I wrote my first book, IntuWitchin, all about that. And I believe there is a language that we can learn to speak, and it helps us remember our true nature and live fearlessly and authentically. And it allows us to reconnect to who we are as divine beings and as expressions of this beautiful, divine, sentient being that is Mother Earth.
Yes. And I love how in your first book, you have a second book coming up that we're going to talk about just in a few minutes. But in IntuWitchin, you basically explained how we can connect to the symbolism of the universe, to read nature, to read our own bodies. And I think so many people have lost even the knowledge about that existing. And I found it to be a really powerful book. And when we think about what magic actually is, right? The word magic has been so commercialized, and also pick up on something else he said before, commodified, like so many other things, and also trivialized in our culture. But when I study quantum physics, for example, the observer effect, entanglement, the role of consciousness in collapsing wave functions, I actually realized that when you look at also what was taught in ancient traditions and what we call magic, that it might just be sophisticated technologies of consciousness that our science today is only just beginning to understand. Um, I'd love to hear from you, Mia. How do you define real magic versus the Hollywood version? And also, why is it so crucial for our evolution that we reclaim what I believe is absolutely our birthright, and also a way of the way we're meant to interact with reality?
Yeah, 100%. To me, that's what magic is
Mhm.
knowing that we are nature and we each have a unique or several unique, like I have many gifts. Animal communication is one of my gifts, and then mediumship is one of my gifts, and clairsentience, to be able to feel what my client is feeling in my body in order to like help them work through something, right? I have so many different gifts. And to me, magic is us finding out what those gifts are and being able to express them and being able to heal or create or shift and change or alchemize whatever it is within ourselves or another. Obviously, if you have permission and you're serving in that way, magic is it's whatever your superpowers are, right? Like my deepest magic is healing magic, but I have magic that is like telegenesis, right? The magic through screens, being animated and being charismatic and being able to speak well. Those are all different types of magic. Those are all superpowers that I've developed. I have like Dumbledore's pensieve type of memory. It's like I just remember everything. And that to me is what magic is. It is your unique expression of how your authentic and true nature exists and is most highly activated and serves your evolution and the evolution of others and our planet. And we all have it. Everyone has it, and it looks different for everyone. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And it can be utilized to change your experience of reality. In fact, that's what it's for. Not just to like manifest $1 million, but to allow you to exist in that heavenly place on earth, to allow you to feel fulfillment and joy and delight and even acceptance of your pain and your trauma and your challenges and the hard things that happen to you that you don't understand, and being able to know like all this is for me. All this is for me. It's to strengthen my resilience and perseverance and power of magic. That's what it's giving me. I'm getting access to deeper and more power. And so I think that why we all need to do this is because like the world is in trouble. All these parts that are a shit show, the amount of us that are living in this heaven on earth reality and the amount of us that are living in hell on earth reality, is the contrast is stark. And that is why we all, and we cannot fight the patriarchy as if it is the masculine. You know, you said that earlier and like shifted. It was like the masculine, but it's the patriarchal, because like the masculine is the fucking warrior. Like we need them so badly. God bless the good men, and God bless the masculine sides within ourselves. Like that is what I've been learning so much about, is my own dark masculine, my own dominant, powerful warrior energy, and how I relate that to my feminine and serve her and the muse and be able to create within myself. And that is why we all have to learn about our magic and our power and find the balance of those two poles, whether it be in gender or in the way that we function in our business or our life or our relationships, because our magic comes from that union within ourselves. It comes from knowing how to contain the power and wield it, and be it. Like to literally just be, right? The feminine is just the straight Shakti power, aliveness, and magic. And I feel it coming so deeply. I really do. The fact that I can write books about this and not be burned for all the things that I've said and done over the last decade, like it's a literal miracle. And that's a testament to the changing times. And so I believe and I feel the way that my sisters and brothers are sharing their magic and opening their power, and the way that we're all again weaving it together right now, like is the most important mission on earth. And that is why I'm teaching it and sharing it and carrying it and, you know, sojourning forth like a beacon and a lighthouse for those who are lost in the storm, because there is no other way through this storm. There's no other path.
I agree with you 100%, Mia. And this is also something that when I got to read the what do you call it, the arc, the manuscript of your book, your new book that's coming out soon, Witchual, you actually write about balancing the masculine structure with feminine flow. And I love that, because that is the only way. And on a personal level, that's also something I've wrestled with. You know, as entrepreneurs and high achievers, we're often rewarded for the masculine energy, the drive. You also mentioned this previously, talking about some of the women you know and get to work with, you know, the drive, the structure, the goal orientation. But I also learned that the sustainable success requires partnering with the feminine principles, receptivity, cyclical rhythms, especially for those of us in a female body, and intuitive timing. So I'd like to learn more about when you work with individuals, especially very driven, high achieving, goal oriented people. How do you actually help them integrate the feminine flow without feeling like they may be losing their competitive edge? And what does it actually look like to be both surrendered and structured?
So the first thing that I would start with in what you said is the story that if you take care of yourself, you lose your competitive edge. That's where we begin. It's like, where did we get that belief? Where did the part of us that was a child that watched someone work in a certain way take on the assumption that you just have to hustle hard, do not tend to yourself or your needs, don't feel your feelings, don't take vacations, just do it. And we work with your inner child and see what they would want to do and how they would want to play if they didn't believe that. And then I start giving assignments, right? Like my work is really, you know, if you're mentoring people, you get it. It's not about the 1 hour a week that you talk. It's about what you do with the information from that 1 hour in all the rest of the hours of the week.
Right.
And so then it's usually an assignment. This is specifically with like high achieving female entrepreneurs. I've worked with Fortune 500 CEOs and YPO guys. Like, you know, I've done a lot of magic with high achievers. So what really the deepest response is working on your spiritual and personal development will always help, because you will then believe differently about your capacity to achieve and attain your goals. So we look at the inner child. Why are we assuming we'll lose our competitive edge or whatever the story is? And then we find out what the inner child wants to do. And then we start doing that. And a lot of the times it will be something that is really well done in nature. I'm going to just pause for 1 second. Can you hear the gardener outside?
Nope, can't hear him.
See, Zoom is so good. Thanks, James. Just want to make sure, because like he's loud for me, but I just want to make sure you couldn't actually hear him. So that's great. Okay, so where was I?
You were talking about examples in nature.
Yes, exactly. And so very often I will send people out to do their assignment, whether it's to dance or to draw a picture or to like go swim with whales or go skiing or like anything, whatever the little inner child wants to do, but like go do it outside. And a lot of people will have, we all have kind of one parent, mommy issues or daddy issues. And sometimes we want to, impress our dad, get our dad's approval, make sure that he, thinks we're valuable and worthy. And that's what leads us to achieve. Or our mom had really low self-esteem. And so we're like, we're going to do it. We're going to make this happen. Right. And we respond to one parent or the other usually. Mm-hmm. And so when we have mommy issues, going and spending time with the great mother, going and just laying on the earth, going and just tending to yourself without your phone, just listening to what your body needs, listening to what the earth has to say, just feeling at all, even for 20 or 30 minutes, once or twice a week, is so transformative for people who are just constantly, one of my last high achievers, she was always rushing on her walk to work. She lives in New York City. So like, she's like, Madison Avenue, like quick, fast, let's go. She like runs this huge commercial real estate firm. And so just one of her assignments was to like leave 30 minutes earlier and just take it slow. Look at every flower, look at every tree, smile at every person. And it was just her walk to work. She didn't have to do it on her way home, right? It was just like, take a slower walk to work. And every morning of that week, by the time she got to work, she felt so great. She was so happy. She's like noticing things she's grateful for. Like we kind of, kept increasing what the active participation was in the walk. And even just that assignment made her, because she's like crossing something off the to-do list and she's achieving a goal and she's like doing great on her homework, she still gets that little hit, but then it's something that makes her feel better and more productive and more efficient when she gets to the office. Mm-hmm. And another one of my clients just was terrified of going for a walk at night. She'd had a sexual abuse experience and she just like did not want to walk at night. And I was like, girl, take the dog with you, go to a place where you feel really comfortable, start your walk at sunset and just like trust. And she did that every day for a week and just like, felt so much better. Another of my clients has a deep mystical relationship with herself, but she never talks about it online. Mm. And I was like, I want you to tell your audience that you talk to dragons and fairies. And she said it was the most engagement she ever had on a story, the most responses, DMs, like people sending her story, so excited, like so happy, just overjoyed. And she was like, I would never have told them this. And I think that really is the part of us going back to our authenticity, again, our true nature. If we're not hiding, if we're not repressing, nature doesn't do that. She doesn't hide anything. She drops her fruits and they get moldy and maggoty. And you know what? All of that compost feeds her the next year. Yeah. She doesn't give a shit about what falls, what drops, who eats what. She's just like expressing herself all the time. Mm. And when we do that in a way that is true, right? Like if we're triggered and we express ourselves and someone gets hurt, that's our responsibility. But if we are in our authentic truth and we are expressing, that is the most natural thing we can do. And it's natural to listen to the earth and to be connected to her. And so when I work with people, the main goals are to deeply connect to who you authentically are and what you authentically need, so that then you can fulfill those goals. And these small things, again, that little mystical girl, that was her first assignment. When we started working together, she was making 20K a month and she wanted to be making 70K a month. And that was her first assignment. And within 2 weeks of that, she was making 25. Within 4 weeks, she was making 50. And within 3 months, she was making 70K a month. And it's not like the money is the point, but it's the way that we think, oh, well, I have this block around money. It's like, well, no, what if you have this block around the most important part of you that makes you feel abundant, but that you hide from other people because you're actually in scarcity about their level of support of you or their level of acceptance or their capacity to hold you as who you really are. And so this is why and how that language of the universe has become such an important study for me, is because it's never about just the one thing or the one element or the one aspect. It's always interwoven with so many different textures and nuances that when we learn to read, again, the language of the universe and the language of nature, it helps us know better who we are and then tend to ourselves. And watching big, massively powerful and important people in the world, you know, big actors who like want a new gig, and athletes who want to win a Super Bowl, and like all of these amazing people that I've supported. The real thing is that like we already are all of that. We already are inherently nature. We already are inherently magical. Like you said, it is our birthright. It's just clearing the shit out of the way.
Yeah. Yes, and something that you also have talked about, and a concept of yours that I really like, or your concept of it always, because it always rubbed me wrong. So you have the concept of slaying, as in like the slay that you ride, slaying the dragon instead of slaying, killing the dragon. I never liked these myths of these dragons getting killed ever since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And so your concept of slaying the dragon, that really caught my attention, because you know, most people are terrified of their shadow aspects. And in my own experience working with high performers, I've noticed that their greatest strengths often have these shadow sides. You know, their drive can become workaholism, confidence can become arrogance, and this desire for independence can also become isolation. How do you, in your work, reframe shadow work from something scary into something empowering? And how do you help the people you work with understand that integrating their shadows actually increases their power rather than diminishing it?
You know, I think that the way that that works best is by just calling it inner child work and tapping into the part of us that is free, not just to be joyful and explorative and adventurous, but like to feel. Kids are like, I'm going to fucking lay down right here and throw a tantrum because I am feeling things and I don't care what you have to say about it. I'm in an experience and I will be having it. Thank you very much. Give me a couple of minutes and then I'll be done. Right. And so of course, like I've done all the wild exorcisms and like energetically vomited and had all, you know, like all of that. There is certainly work that is less like sweet and wholesome and genuinely more shadowy, but the amount of progress and transformation that you can make just by meeting the parts of your small self that have negative or limiting beliefs and instantly manifesting the need. Like I did a session the other day with someone who just wanted his mom to hold him. Like he just wanted her to hold him and protect him and tell him that it was okay. And so it was in person. And so I literally just put his head on my lap and asked what she called him and started using her little pet name for him and petting him. And he's crying in my lap, having exactly the experience that he needed in that moment. Now that's shadow, right? This is a negative belief that we're working through, giving him a safe space to experience this thing. But it's just showing the child that has a frozen need, right? It freezes in that moment. I just needed her to show up for me. I just needed her to protect me. She didn't. So that need freezes and becomes a shadow in the adult. So when we can instantly fulfill that need, whether it's energetically and psychologically in a hypnosis session, most of my clients are not in person. I see people primarily over the phone, but when I have someone in person, I can actually participate in, I did a set of sisters one time, and they needed this like sister ritual. They wanted to do this thing together. So like I stood them both up and had them do the ritual and had them spinning and dancing and singing the song that they loved. And the shadow is only scary because of how long we've spent pushing it away and calling it dark and bad. It's not. Even the parts of us that are like let things come out, even that is not bad. We've just been told that how it looks is bad and scary. Like, whoa, that makes me feel free. Oh, wow, I'm stretching my neck and my jaw, my strongest muscle in my body. Oh, I can stick my tongue out, the thing that I use to talk and eat all day long. Like, it's so important. It's so, so important. And yeah, I just feel like we as a society and as a species have a profound opportunity right now to connect with, because the shadow only comes because there's light. The shadow is an obstacle. It's caused by an obstacle to the light. So if we decide to say, okay, well, like, what's the obstacle? It's this thought, it's me, it's this lack of discipline. Like last night I did a thing that I don't want to do. And I like ate chips and cookies before bed. That is not me shining my light upon my body. That's not me like making a good choice. It's like my first day back from Burning Man. I just wanted to fucking chill, and like, it's not the highest decision for me. But I also know this is a micro. And I know a lot of us, comfort ourselves with food, but I know that's not good for me. I know that's a shadow causing me to do that. Do I want to remove that obstacle? Am I going to do the thing? Am I going to be brave and courageous and meet whatever that little part of me that feels unsafe or uncomfortable and is reaching for something to soothe them? Am I going to do something about that obstacle or not? And if we reframe it from being shadow work to being like freedom work and liberation work and removal of obstacle work and expansion and evolution, it's not bad and it's not scary. And so that's really how I also like am a tough bitch, I'm strong and I have thick skin. And so I have been taught by life that there is no greater endeavor than to do this work, because this is what will reward you. And this is what will offer you your dreams. And the experiences that I've had just this summer, like, oh my God, I've lived the amount of adventures and love and intimacy and fun and bliss and play that some people have in their entire lives in the last 3 months. Like, that is a miracle. And it's because I'm not afraid of my shadows. It's because I fucking love them and I love seeing them so that they can help me tackle that obstacle and receive more light. And then again, shine it out and be that beacon for everyone lost in the storm. I'm like, hallelujah.
Yeah. Once you start dancing with your shadows, you may just take the lead and it becomes delicious.
Delicious. Yeah.
I love it, Mia.
Yeah.
And to wrap this beautiful conversation up, I really feel like we're living through what many mystics and actually also scientists agree is an evolutionary leap in consciousness. All these old paradigms are crumbling, and I feel we're really called to embody new ways of being human. And it's not just personal development or biohacking, whatever you want to call it. It's species development.
Yeah.
And from everything that you have experienced and that you see and that you sense, where do you see human consciousness heading, and how does reclaiming our magical abilities serve this larger evolutionary process?
Oh my goddess, girl. If we actually reclaim our magic in the ways, like I said earlier, where it's healing, it's by location, it's sourdough bread, if we all actually did that, what we would be capable of creating as a future for this planet would be beyond utopian. It would be so perfectly harmonious. And look, I don't know what's going to happen. But with the way that my life has been going, especially after a profoundly dark night of the soul over the last almost 2 years. I believe wholeheartedly that love will win. And that these systems that are crumbling, these structures that are falling, yeah, like they will crumble and fall. And I believe that something new is being birthed in their place. And I feel the profound honor of being part of that movement and that evolutionary shift. And I do wholeheartedly agree with that we are going through an evolutionary shift. Again, we could not be having this conversation if we weren't. That it's been thousands of years, literally, since you and I, two women, could be in our power, having a clear conversation, making money from the things that we're having these conversations about that involve magic and witchcraft and manifestation and being superhuman and utilizing supernatural gifts and abilities. Like, this is unprecedented. And so I believe with every fiber of my being, though I do have my doubts when shit hits the fan again and again, I'm like, oh my God, are we going to make it through this?
There must be a pony in this pile of shit somewhere.
Yeah, something. But I see the way that my life is going, and I can only look at the world through my lens and my perspective. And I live in heaven. And I take visits to hell just like Persephone does. You know, I have months or periods in the day, depends on the cycle, right? Sometimes we're in the larger 10-year, 7-year cycle. Sometimes we're in just the day, making it one day at a time. I go down into the underworld. I don't not live there. I'm a Gemini. I have 1 foot in the underworld and 1 foot on Mount Olympus. I can traverse those realms. And I truly believe that because I can, and because I am, and I am willing to, I am watching the world change in a positive way around me. And I know there are billions of people who are not experiencing life like that, but I am, and I am in devotion to it, abject and reverential, sacred devotion to that evolutionary path. I can only do it for myself. And as I do it for myself, I'm sharing, and I'm offering, and I'm transmitting what's coming through for me. And it's profound and it's powerful, and it has changed me, obviously. And my prayer is that it changes as many people as possible so that we can get our shit together and allow the matriarchal and patriarchal rule to return to union, and do it together, and listen to the plants and the trees and the whales and the lions and the wolves, and know ourselves as them, and in primal connection and primordial harmony with them. And if we all remembered and took this birthright to whatever extent and degree is right for us, I know that this world would change really quickly. And I'm really excited for that. I am looking so forward to it. And I've always known I was going to live a very long life. I had a grandmother live to 100 with all the advancements. I know I'm going to live to like at least 150, 175, like we'll see. And there's a lot of time between now and then. There's a lot that can happen. It's over a century from now. So I believe that we are going to create Shambhala. I believe that I'm going to ride on a dragon in this lifetime. I'm going to actually slay a dragon. I'm going to ride on a dragon over an ocean and a mountain peak, feeling the wind literally beneath my wings and on my face. Like, that is going to happen in this lifetime. And we have to collectively believe in those dragons. We have to slay those inner dragons within us, the parts of ourselves that feel shadowy, that believe misinformation, whether that's that we're not good enough, or that we need the next new whatever car, video game in order to feel happy or satisfied. And so that's why I am cultivating my own magic as much as I possibly can, and also striving to support others doing the same, because I really do believe that we can change. And I've watched it happen. Like, I've watched, like you said, thousands and thousands of people go through my programs since I really started hitting the scene big, and since 2020. And there are miracles every day, over and over. There are miracles that have happened. And the more of us believe in miracles, the more of us will be part of the solution to living this miraculous regenerative reparation of our planet and our species. And I'm looking forward to that. Like I'm on that trajectory. I'm on that timeline. I'm on that path. The shit is crazy. Like, whoa. Oh my God. And that's where I'm headed. And so that's why I want to just enroll as many people as possible to come with me.
I'm right there with you, Mia. And that is also the beauty of this intense path. I love that you brought in Persephone, you know, one foot in the underworld, the other foot in the light. And it is about having the capacity to balance, seeing very clearly what is going on. Let's call it the shit show, right? Because it's also fertilizer. And at the same time, holding the vision. So
Yeah.
seeing that, and at the same time holding on to the vision and of that most high, most beautiful world that we know is possible, and also embodying it. And in order to embody it, we need to also embody joy, embody celebration, embody permission. And I feel that every conversation like this one is in itself a form of magic. We're literally weaving new realities into existence through our words, through our intentions, through our shared vision. And this conversation alone, the ripple effects of this conversation will touch lives in ways we can't even imagine. So, Mia, I am so grateful you made time for us today. And lastly, but not leastly, because I know you have a bunch of really incredible stuff coming up, which will also
Yeah.
feature in the show notes. So from your book, Witchual, but you also have a retreat coming up soon.
Yes. Yes. So my second book, Witchual, comes out October 28th. And if you come to my retreat, which is October 21st through 26th in the Redwoods in Northern California, where I grew up, my greatest teachers and friends and guides, the oldest and largest living beings on earth, the ultimate wisdom keepers. So the retreat will be right before the book comes out. And then the book, the subtitle is Transformative Rituals for a Fearlessly Authentic Life. And it's full of all of the things that we talked about here today, and is such a gift, was such a really powerful experience for me to share. And I'm super excited for everybody to read it. And I read it on Audible myself, you know, so if that's where you like to listen, it's available.
Excellent. Thank you, Mia. What a pleasure to connect with you, and I hope to be continued.
Yes, bless. I will definitely, we got to hang out the next time I'm in LA. Thank you so much for having me.
Superhumanize. Accelerated evolution.